Hey up! Welcome back to the 6-part Hanna Karlzon Colour With Me, and this is part 4. So this is part 4. We are colouring in the main illustration. I need to apologise straight out the gate because I didn't press record and I've already coloured a rat in. Well, it's almost, finished. But yeah, I've done the majority of it, so I'm really sorry about that. Just didn't hit record, so I've been chatting away to myself. Anyway, I based the hat in this Crayola Super Tip. So obviously Crayola Super Tips don't have colours. In my collection it's number 108, but it's basically this colour. So I based it in that colour. So that's a water-based, as we call it, a felt tip pen, water-based marker. And then I did a light layer of this colour, which is, these are FABER POLYCHROMOS, and I did Purple Violet 136. So I did a light covering of that over the marker, because obviously as a water-based marker, you don't get a nice flat finish like with an alcohol marker. It's streaky, so it's just to get a large portion of depth of colour, if you like, down, so I don't have to do so many layers. But then I did a layer of this one, Purple Violet 136, as I said, in the darkest areas, so like these creases here, this corner around here, underneath the hat. I did some 247 indanthrene blue. Oh, is that how you pronounce that? Indanthrene. That doesn't feel comfortable on the tongue at all. But yeah, indanthrene blue 247. And then I've just gone around and gave it some sort of shape with 249 mauve. And I think I'll go back, when I've done the same with her shirt, I might go back and add some more depth and some highlights maybe. Or I might leave that till, the final part of the series when I'm looking at the page as a whole and thinking, what does it need? So, for today, we're going to carry on with this main illustration and see how far we get. If I find that I'm just concentrating, you'll probably hear some music. Some of the footage might be slightly sped up. If you are colouring along, you can, of course, hit pause anytime you like. You can rewind and replay bits. But if I am just a little bit of company for you today in the background while you're doing anything, colouring or anything else, thanks for joining me. And I don't mind that at all. It's lovely to have your company as well. Me and Rocket here today. My husband's just gone to work. It's 4 p.m. on Thursday at the minute. So we've had some lunch. Had a little bit of cuddle time on sofa before his shift starts, and he's gone to work, and now it's just me and Rocket chilling with a bit of Hanna Karlzon. It's not a bad evening as far as I'm concerned. So this can go away for, no it can't, I'm going to base this in the same way, so you'll see me do it now, and it'll look terrible. It does actually make me nervous. I wish there were a way somewhere between alcohol markers which bleed through and water-based markers which don't bleed through. On this paper they don't anyway. I wish there was something in between, because these do leave a streaky mess, to be honest. And who knows, I've got distress inks on this, so I mean I could have a reaction. So if you saw part 3 of 6, which was uploaded Wednesday night, you'll know that as I've said, I'm using my Polychromos, which I decided to use because I felt I wanted I wanted to retain a sharp tip on my coloured pencils, so that I could get into the little nooks and crannies that my collage just created. And I think that was a good move, just colouring in the hat. I'm thankful that I chose Polychromos for this job. My other two options were Chromaflows or Luminance, and both on any other page would have been equally wonderful. So It really came down to just to the hardness of my pencil core. I wanted it to stay hard and nice and sharp. So I'm going for like a dark purple outfit and hat. I'm assuming this is a dress she's wearing, but I reposted, I finished my colouring friend, Adriana, who's been colouring along with this page. She's been so inspired and motivated by, she started with a wonderful background that she's done in metallics, and it's just fantastic. Her page, her Instagram page, I think it's called Colour, COLOR, Colour by Adri, ADRI. Check her out. So she's already got that excited. She's completed the whole page, which I love, and it looks fantastic. And she's gone for a bit of a, I think her hat looks, she's done the hat extremely well, and it looks velvety to me. So I saw Gemma Chambers Art, another fantastic YouTube channel. She's a professional artist. She'd also, funnily enough, this week showed you how to colour in coloured pencil a witch's hat. So between her and Adriana's post, I felt fully inspired. So I'm hoping this will look somewhere towards velvety at the end. But as long as it looks like fabric, I'll be happy. But yeah, I'd love it to look as velvety as Adriana's has. She's a fantastic colourist. She's got an Instagram page, and she was one of my very first buddies, so I thank her for that. And we did a page in Fairy Tales and Folklore together. She's doing that as a full book colour for herself, and she's cracking on with it. I think she'll probably have it done by the end of this year, what rate she's going. And that is one heck of a flip through that I can't wait to see. So I'm a bit forgetful, me, so I always intend to mention people who I think, you know, might be a little bit underrated, or they're just, for whatever reason, might not have as many followers or whatever, but they're fantastic and I love the work, or I like either subscribing to them on YouTube or following on Instagram, and I always intend to mention them, but not that I've got a huge following, but I appreciate every one of the 647 of you, or 46 of you. I always think when I mention it, a couple of people are gonna unsubscribe just to keep me what's the word I'm looking for, humble. Yes, check out Adriana's Instagram, and I will always try and remember to mention people. I mentioned in the last video, Chromatic Collective as a Facebook group is a wonderful space to be in as a colourist. It's great for finding buddies, like-minded people. Right, so that's all I did with the hat. As you can see, looks like it's been coloured in with water-based marker, and I will have some work to do to lose that. I think you can still see it a little bit up here with the hat. As long as I haven't pressed too hard with my POLYCHROMOS, I should be able to go over and maybe deepen it and maybe hide a few more of those water-based marker streaks. Just checking we're still in shot. I have a film on my iPhone, so it's literally just there. So it's about at my nose height, and I've got a little lamp that hangs over it. These are all stuck to my shelves. I'll show you my setup anyway. I'll pop it up on screen just for your interest. This is the space I'm working in. I love it. Again, I know I keep mentioning him. It's as if I'm obsessed with my own husband. Well, I am a little bit. But he did all this for me. I started out with just a desk, and he just wants me to have best of everything. If you can see, I'm into something. He likes to surprise me. So one day he decided, I can do better for you with that, Joe. I think if we get some of these from IKEA, we'll be able to do this, that and other. And before I knew it, I had this lovely setup, and it's my happy corner in the house. And it's in my living room, this space. So we love doing our own hobbies, but we like being together while we're doing them, so it's great. he'll be tinkering with something or building something, and I'll be colouring. He even lets, you know, he's not bothered if I've got YouTube on, so he's fully familiar with all the people I watch on YouTube as well. And we're watching Jess of Colouring Bumblebee on her lives. She always has this, I hope she's not offended when I say this, but she always has this kind of elevator music playing in background, and that's how he knows I'm watching Jess. He'll go, you're watching that Bumblebee one, aren't you? Because she's got that cheesy music on. I don't think Jess gets a chance to watch everybody's channels, to be fair. She works full time, I think, and she's got a very busy YouTube channel. So she probably won't hear that I've just said that, and I think I'm grateful. If you did hear that, Jess, you know, feel free to pull me up. I personally do love your elevator music that you play in the background of your lives. Jess knows I'm a big fan anyway. I don't have to explain myself. I don't think she knows I am a fan. So this is all I did up here, is I just gave it a layer of polychromos. And like everybody always reminds people, hold the pencil further down the barrel and it will encourage you to be a bit lighter. I'm not that patient. I want to kind of, you know, it would take quite a few layers to cover up the streaks. So it's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? You get that immediate colour from the water-based marker, but then you do have some work to... I could have used a lighter colour. In all honesty, I could have gone a few shades lighter. And I have swatched these Crayolas. I put a video out of my adventure in Crayola swatching, which was something else, believe me. It's just not something I'll be repeating. But that's on my channel. Do you know what I think I'm going to do at this point is I think I'm going to move my camera a little bit, because people do remind me that some people have said to me, do you know what, I don't mind if you move the page, which I'm more than happy to do today, guys. I'm perfectly willing to be moving my page. But some people say it's frustrating to have my hand in the way, so I am going to just try and adjust this camera. Okay, we'll try this for a little bit. I've just moved it slightly this way, so it's looking more, it's kind of pointing on an angle like this. Just because I work on all my pages, I don't tend to move around the page much. I will start in this corner because I'm right-handed, and I go from this corner to this corner. That's generally how I finish my page. But as I'm doing, you know, to me this is not a scene, it's a page of separate elements. So I thought I'd get these two bits done at the same time, but then I'll probably go back up here and start on this broom. I have this as well because I don't like putting my, you know, you get a lot of oils on your hands. I'm a bit of a compulsive hand washer, actually, because I'm a compulsive nail biter. When I first started colouring at the back end of June, my nails grew loads, and I think it was only maybe end of August when I started really nibbling again. It's a terrible habit. Do you know who's got the most wonderful nails in the YouTube colouring community? Wendy. I think a channel's called Wendy's Colouring. God, she's got beautiful nails. But one of the first things I noticed about watching colouring content on YouTube is that there are people with short nails, bitten nails, and I thought, well, that's an accepting space. So that gave me the confidence to just come on and record my first video as well without worrying too much about my nails. It isn't a nice habit, and it's a real ball ache when it comes to like going out for an impromptu meal or something. I always keep a couple of sets of stick-on nails upstairs in my bathroom cabinet. But it's something you have to think about. You can't just get a shower and put a bit of lippy on. Your nails always look ugly if you're dressed up. You want to have nice nails, don't you? I'm going off on a tangent here. But yeah. So I wish I had nails like Wendy. I'd love to know. I bet the rate's strong. I bet she's always had good nails and all. I don't think Wendy follows my channel, so she won't hear any of this. But yeah, check her out. She's a good creator. Do you know what I like about Wendy? She's right honest as well. I love her for that. You know, she's reviewing a book. She'll tell you if she's a bit underwhelmed by it, and I right appreciate that. Wendy's colouring, I think it's called. So yeah, I'm just getting towards the end of my first pencil layer, which is looking pretty ugly at this stage. Yeah, I can feel where that distress ink is, you know. So I'd be a bit less, I wouldn't be as overzealous as I was when I was applying that. I was quite confident. Oh, don't worry, I can cover that with pencil, no problem. I did the smallest pencil test on it ever and decided it'll be fine, but I think actually in future I'll try and avoid that. It does feel different. Not necessarily good. I just like to keep it because, you know, we don't want to be sharpening as expensive pencils away, do we? And it already looked pretty sharp, but I do like a nice point. And it's a known fact if you'll colour better, your experience of colouring will be better if you've got a sharp pencil, whether it's oil or wax. I won't rant again about the whole oil or wax thing. So I'm just darkening up the areas that would be a little bit. My light source, I'm suggesting that for this page, my light source is coming in at this angle. So that's why it's a little bit lighter here. And again, I ain't got to the final stages where we put on all our extra highlights and flourishes and things like that. So final details will include some highlighting, I think. Just getting a bit of this blue in. So this is the match to the blue on the palette that we're using as I see it on my phone. I use dark indigo more often than this indanthrene. There must be a better way of pronouncing that. That can't be indanthrene, can it? What an awkward word. Can't think what else it would be. I wonder what it means. Somebody will tell me it's a mineral or a gemstone or something. Whatever. I was really grateful for that help I got on Instagram the other night when I asked about that tool that I found. I'll show you it again just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. But this is something when we were clearing my mum and dad's house out after the past. And I found this and I thought, that's mine. I'm sure that's mine. But I don't know what it is, but I've got a right strong memory of it for some reason. And I've kept it in my house since then. And I keep looking at it and thinking, what is it? And I put it on Instagram and I said, can any of me, because I thought it might be something I used in college, maybe are these grooves that I've used to sharpen something? Do you know what I mean? It has a slight, I'll just turn it slowly in camera. And somebody said, oh, it looks like a bone folder, you know, for using card making. But if I've used this, maybe I fiddled with it as a toddler or something, I thought. But even if I used it at college, it would be 30 years old, this. Then I thought my mum was a tailor and she also had one of these sewing machines that were in a cabinet. And I still have the machine from it. It must be from 50s or 60s. And it was the cabinet, the top of it twisted, and then a sewing machine would appear on top. So it was like a sewing machine on the table then. And this flapper used to flap up so you could put your fabric on it. But she used to sew on that, I remember, as a child. And I'm wondering if it was something to do with what she did. Maybe it were like a bone folder, but for pleats maybe in fabric. But I know this isn't about colouring, and I'm sorry if I'm waffling on, but if anybody knows exactly what it is for sure, because when I've looked at bone folders, they don't tend to have this squared off edge, do they? Or do they? I see what you mean. It does look a bit bone folderish on end there, doesn't it? And that end's darker. Very, very. Just feel like I've known it for something. Like I've used it a lot, or I've touched it a lot. It sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? But I'm quite a sentimental person, and I enjoy how things like music and items can evoke memories and things. I find it quite interesting stuff like that. So if anybody does know exactly what that is, and it feels like a rock hard. It's quite, there's weight to it. Like it might be a piece of marble or something. Doesn't feel porous. And it doesn't feel in weight like it's porous, you know, like pumice stone or anything like that. It's solid. Anyway, back to my colouring. Excuse me sniffing up. A little bit congested today. I don't know why that is. So tell me in the comments, have you been following along? Have you been following along but just listening while you're doing your colouring other things? Remember, if you are actually doing a witchy page, this page, and following along, or if you're just following along with a palette, or if you're doing this page but using a different palette, for me, it all counts. And like I say, if you come up with a page at the end of it and you want to send them to me before Halloween, I will make a special Halloween video about the results of this little 6-part series we've done. And I'll feature everybody's work and obviously tag them, everybody's pages, and you can tell me what you used and I'll put that on screen as well. So I've seen quite a few people have been sending me the pictures. So I'm just getting some of this blue in here. This is just the way I'm choosing to colour this. Do remember, it's not a tutorial with me because I'm a beginner colourist. I love that we've got a name for ourselves though, colourist. I am allowed to call myself a colourist. Surely a colourist is just a person that colours things in. So that's how I'm classing it. So I call myself a colourist. I've not been very well lately, if truth be known. Last couple of weeks, I'm overweight, not a bit overweight, I'm overweight and always have been, really. Last couple of weeks I've been getting a few more palpitations than normal. I might have mentioned that I'm in the perimenopause and I'm on the HRT. And I was recently, a couple of months ago, diagnosed with high blood pressure and a bit of a risk of hypertension, which is what we lost my dad to. So I took it quite seriously, and I've got myself sorted on some medication. I also had high cholesterol because I do love a bit of butter. I do love my butter, but I've cut that out, and I'm on some meds for my cholesterol, and that's come down, which is good. But this last week or two, I've just had some palpitations, and then on Friday night, just gone, shortly after I uploaded my video, actually, I was just in kitchen doing some normal stuff. I think I was dishing up as tea, and I just came over. I've never felt so poorly in all my life. My palpitations went sky high, through the roof, and I thought I was going to pass out, which I don't faint. I've only ever fainted if they've taken blood out of me. You know, when I was younger, I used to faint a little bit after the extracted blood. Quickly sat down and it didn't go away, and I felt the most peculiar I've ever felt in my life. I thought I was going to have an heart attack, if I'm being honest. So I told my husband, and we went into A&E. So I spent Friday night 10 hours in accident and emergency, waiting to be seen and assessed. I think, you know, I got to triage within an hour, which is fine. But it took... So it was good to know that I was waiting. I think I calmed down a little bit because I thought to myself, well, they'd have me in quicker if it was somewhat serious. And after a couple of hours waiting, I kind of returned to normal and I felt pretty okay. But I hung on anyway because I wanted to see a consultant to see what he said it was. I wanted to know what it was because it terrified me. And we still don't know. I think consultant. And they wanted to do some more tests, so I had to go back on Sunday. So I spent another blooming 6 hours or so, 6-7 hours in A&E on Sunday. Giving extra blood, having an ECG, and I've got to wait until one comes available, and then they want me to wear the monitor for 48 hours to see what's going on with me heart. And I came away thinking, you know, I just wanted assurance that I wasn't going to die there and then on spot. Because if truth be known, I think I've been suffering with some anxiety or something more, maybe mental. But my doctor keeps telling me it's just my hormones, it's just menopause, which I don't fully believe, to be honest. I think there's more going on, but anyway, I won't get into that. But yeah, so I've got to have this monitor fitted. Now, I had a couple, Monday and Tuesday, I felt a bit more like my normal self. And then last night in bed, we went to bed and we always sit up and chat for a little bit, and then I felt peculiar again. And my heart were racing as if I'd just run a marathon. It were bum 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 bum, and I'm laid down relaxing, and it just terrified me, just absolutely terrified me. I think the sooner they get this blooming monitor on me, the better, because I think not knowing what it is making it worse, if you know what I mean. So I've been a little bit... I tell you what's been good though, doing these videos and colouring has just proper takes my mind off it. I mean, I'm talking about it now, so that's not good. I'll shut up in a second. Get back on with colouring, because I prefer not to think about it, but... Yeah, so that's... If I've just seemed, I don't think I have seemed off, because I'm quite a jolly person anyway. But yeah, it's been on my mind, I'll be honest, it has been on my mind a little bit. You know, what could be wrong? That shadow's in the wrong place there, isn't it? But yeah, no doubt we'll get to the bottom of it. So my husband, he's been going to work, but because he's a bit worried, he's spoke to his boss, and his boss has kept him close to home. He's an HGV driver, is my husband. So he's given him jobs that are close to home. So like for this week, he's just been going to Sheffield to make a delivery. I'm in South Yorkshire, so just been staying pretty local. Going to work about 4 o'clock this week, and then he's back home for about 10. So yes. But I feel alright, like now, I feel absolutely fine. Monday and Tuesday, I felt absolutely fine. All day today, I felt fine. But when I had that episode last night in bed, breathing exercises, nothing I could do, because I'm quite a sensible person, you know, like, I'm good in a crisis with anybody else. So just trying to sort of say, stay calm, you know. And do some deep breaths and stuff. But it weren't having any effect. My heart was still racing, which is quite concerning. Anyway, moving on from that. Now I'm going in with, now I've done that, done some darker areas in this blue. I'm now back with Mauve 249, which is my darkest purpley colour. I'm just giving some more value to the colour, some more depth of colour. I'm wondering what colour I should do my cat. Now I'm thinking obviously a black cat for this witchy page. And it's interesting, I saw recently, I've got another colouring buddy, Autumn Vesperman. She's a freelance illustrator actually, and she's recently started her, I think earlier this year she started adult colouring. But she did a video recently on her channel, which is The Artful Life on YouTube, where how do you colour a black horse without it just being a silhouette of a horse, you know, solid black silhouette. So that was quite a good video. Check that out if you're colouring anything black this Halloween or in the future. So she did a Kirby black horse. And she kind of explained how you can get the, you know, colour the horse black without it actually being black. Oh, I took a little break there. I don't think talking about your problems is sometimes good for if it's anxiety related, or who knows. Anyway, I took a little break there. I watched Princess and the Frog. First time I've ever watched it, and I've still not seen it because I fell asleep in middle. So we're back to colouring now. If you hear anything in the background, it's just Rocket walking about with his claws on floorboards and playing with his toys. I think at this point I'd just like to deepen some of these areas. I'm using my black now just to watch I'm not actually a big Disney fan. That doesn't mean I dislike Disney. I think people always take that phrase to mean that you're the opposite of a fan, which is that you dislike it, and that's not the case at all. I'm just not, you know, it's never been something I would say, oh, I love Disney. No, that's just never been my thing. But Disney films do have the place in my life, in that sometimes if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by life or anything, or you just, oh, the news is terrible, or, you know, you just want something wholesome, I put one of two things on. One of three things. I will put a Disney movie on, or I'll put a really old black and white movie, something that I used to maybe watch with my mum, that she would have got me into. So like an old Betty Davis film, like All About Eve, or Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I love Betty Davis films. So I'll put an old film on. I love an old black and white movie. Sunset Boulevard is still one of the best films on my sort of top 50 films list. And then the other thing that I turn to, and I've done this my whole adult life, is I love Columbo. So I always refer to him as Uncle Columbo, because Peter Falk in that role, everything's just all right with world. If there's a Columbo on telly, what can be going wrong? Nothing. Everything's right with the world. And again, I think that's probably comes from watching it with my mum. So do you know what I think a lot of it is? A lot of it is that we felt happy as children. Some of us were lucky enough to have happy childhoods. Not everybody does. But those of us that do, I think, because modern life is so strange. It's not great. I think, like I said before, I think the 90s, before the advent of the smartphone, I think things were a lot better, a lot better. I think we had less anxieties and less worries, and we still had worries, but they were more straightforward. We didn't have enough money, so what did? You had to find extra work, or do you know what I mean? Now we're worrying about whether we're going to step outside his house and somebody's going to stab us. Or if we sat on a blooming bus, is somebody going to lean over and just stab us in the neck like that poor girl in America? Or with, you know, is something like COVID going to happen again? It's just such a bizarre time to be living in. I don't like it, I'll be honest, I do not like. I wish we could go backwards in time. I would definitely go back. I'd like to have been an adult in 70s, me. I think 70s, I would have liked to have been an adult. And then maybe the 90s been my decade where I was this age. If you get what I mean. 1 second, I can just rock it. That's just my thinking. But yeah, so when I'm feeling just a little bit, this is very rare, it's not often that I do this. When I'm feeling just a little bit like you want to block the world out, Disney, Columbo, or an old black and white movie. You know, some movies I've watched in recent years, when I've looked back when they were made, and I've worked it out, they're almost like 80. I've watched some movies from 30s, so they're almost like, well, they're 80 years old, some movies. They're brilliant. I love old Hitchcock films. What do you do if you're feeling that way? If you're feeling a little bit just like shutting the world out, or overwhelmed with just general life? What do you turn to apart from booze? What do you turn to on the box? Or do you listen to music? I love music as well, but funnily enough, these days I don't listen to a lot of music. I don't know why that is. I think it's because I've just got into watching YouTube. But I love all sorts of music, and I genuinely mean that. The music I play is dependent on my mood or what I'm doing. So if I'm doing housework, I'll listen to something a bit more lively. Might listen to some Eminem. I like Eminem. Or I'll listen to like 90s music. If I'm driving, I tend to like a bit of country. So I love absolutely voice. My favourite voice is probably Chris Stapleton. I just think he's got a fantastic voice. His music just spoke to me, you know, with what we're going through. I lead a very happy life now. I'm very happy, so I don't listen to a lot of music that, you know, makes you sad, which some of his songs do, or melancholy. But yeah, music is great, if that's what you do. Does anybody else like an old movie? Is anybody else my age but will watch things from the 1930s and 40s and 50s? 50s in particular were a brilliant era in movies. Yeah, Bette Davis. What an actress. What an actress. I loved that series with Susan Sarandon about Feud, it were called. I forget what channel it were on. But all about the kind of feud between Joan Crawford and Bette Davis. I suppose if I do have any younger viewers, apparently my main viewers on YouTube are aged between, I think, late 40s or early 50s and 60s, so you'll probably know what I'm talking about. But if I've got any young viewers, they'll probably scrolled by. If you're a young viewer, what do you do? If you only have ever known this world where, you know, if smartphones have been part of your life since you were young, since you were a toddler, since you were born, what's that like? God. Let me tell you, night clubbing, so if you enjoyed going out on the town dancing, in 90s it would have been called raving or night clubbing. It was the best thing ever. Nobody had phones on them, so nobody were recording you. Could let your hair down without fear of somebody showing you a video morning after of how much you'd embarrassed yourself. And people talked. They talked in clubs and they danced in clubs. And nobody, me and my husband were reminiscing because there's a year and a month between us. We were brought up in the same area, but we never met until 8 years ago. So we're reminiscing about nightclubs that were in our town. And I says, have a look on YouTube and see if there's any old clips. And there was some clips from the 90s. And it just took us back. I said, look at that. There's not one person selfieing themselves or videoing themselves on that video, on that dance floor. I'm saying this and look at what I'm doing. I'm on YouTube now. So if we didn't have smartphones, would we be even bothered about YouTube? We'd probably be watching it on his PCs. I remember when we first got dial-up internet, I was talking to people in America and other countries on a thing called ICQ. And I think that were fine to be able to log, you turned your computer on, you logged on. It took about 15 minutes to get settled on it. And you might have spent an hour or two on it. Having a phone is different. It's just with us the whole time, isn't it? And I don't know. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Although it's not to do with colouring. Right, so I'm going to leave that there for now. Like I say, I will keep looking at it. I just wanted to just deepen it a touch. Because I think when I've got everything shaded, I might shade out into this just a tiny bit. I like a bit of depth. Now, whether it's smooth enough, round here is a bit ropey, isn't it? It's not, this is why I don't do tutorials. Because I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet. I've tried basing, because I recently got the Crayolas, as you may know, but I've tried basing twice with them now, and both times I've not really been happy, as if I'd have put the effort in and shaded it, from scratch with a pencil. So I think there must be a knack to it. And I know, like Jess from Colouring Bumblebee, she uses them to base a lot. And I don't know whether I'm not choosing light enough shades. But I don't know. The jury's out. I'm reserving judgment. But I don't give up on things, so I'm going to keep trying them. Now then, let's move on to this gorgeous fella. What should we call him? I used to have a cat. I'm more of a dog person, if I'm being frank. I do prefer dogs. But I did used to have a cat, a ginger cat called Biscuit, when I was in my 20s, I think I was. This one's not going to be ginger. I think we need him to be black. So how am I going to achieve that black look? I'm going to give him a light shading to start with, because that'll just make the space. I always think that as well, if you're looking at your paper and you're feeling intimidated, just get shading some light layers first, especially with Polychromos, because I always work with Polychromos, so I try to work light to dark. And remember, this light shade I could be using, it might be a nice idea to use something like the blue. In fact, that would be quite nice, wouldn't it? Like a blue undertone to his fur. So yeah, as I was saying, I think that's always a good idea, is to start your shading, because when a space on your page has some colour in it, it's automatically going to feel a bit less intimidating, I think. So I'm just going to get a light layer on this little puss. So what do we think he's called? Sooty is too obvious. Smoke, a little bit obvious. I'm sure you're going to tell me your name by the time you coloured in, aren't you? Yes, I'll start with a little blue. Might not end up showing up in end, but that's what I'm going to start with. Should sharpen this pencil soon. So yes, Princess and the Frog is what I just watched for the first time, and it made me wonder if I think I've seen most Disney films, most of the classics, you know. I liked Tangled a few years ago, watching that with my friend's daughter, rather reluctantly, but actually I ended up really enjoying it. Did I go off page a little bit there? Yeah, animation's crazy good these days as well, isn't it? You know, the most recent Disney films and other animated movies. Fantastic. Me and my husband enjoyed Sing. I might have told you that before. That's where I got my name for my channel, because my husband calls me Piggy as a reference to the housewife character in there that's like breaks out dancing when she's on stage, and I think I reminded him of her to some degree with my antics. So he started calling me Piggy Beyonce, and then when we first met, Piggy Beyonce, and then it's just now he calls me Piggy, and it's a term of endearment. So if he's ever upset with me, which is very rare, but if he's, you know, because I'm quite sassy, so it keeps me in check. So if ever he don't call me Piggy then, he calls me Piggy when he's most, you know, loved up. So I guess it's his pet name. So I get called Piggy a lot because he's a sweetheart. But yeah, that's where I got my channel name from. And yeah, we enjoyed Sing. I thought that was brilliant, with the guy at the piano as well. Is that Taron Egerton? The gorilla at the piano. Yeah, really good. I liked cartoons when I was a kid. I loved She-Ra were my thing. My brother liked He-Man, I loved She-Ra. And I think it was on Saturday morning, Gemma and the Holograms, which were just the most fantastic 80s cartoon. I think it must have been mid to late 80s maybe. Jerrica Benton were the character's name. That was it, Jerrica. I've always loved that name now, Jerrica. Don't know anybody called Jerrica. But yeah, Jerrica Benton were her name, and she was a rich heiress or something. And she had some earrings, magic earrings. And if she rubbed her earrings, and they were like star-shaped, and if she rubbed her earrings, and she'd say, Showtime Synergy, and then whatever I think it was tech. I think it was something tech-wise that, I don't know, maybe she was a tech mogul. But she turned into Gem, pop star, and a band were called the Holograms. And they had an opposing band that were like their rivals and like their enemies. Gemma and the Holograms were like the sweethearts, and the rivals, the enemies, were called the Misfits. And I can remember, it's all coming back to me now. There were a character, I think, who led the Misfits, called Pizzazz, and it were all very 80s, you know, with the face paint but yeah, I loved Gemma and the Holograms. I loved She-Ra. So I kind of liked powerful women, I guess. Yeah. Quite inspired by powerful women. And to this day, I still enjoy, in terms of colouring books, I still enjoy any sort of portrayal of strong women. So goddesses, or, you know, like Amazonian women, warriors, women of different cultures. I love all that. And I used to, I'm sorry if I repeat myself on videos. I'll stop apologising for it, and you just, you know, you might just have to live with it. But I used to love drawing superheroes and women of that same stature, Wonder Woman, women like that. I mean, she was the ultimate Amazonian, wasn't she? Didn't she come from a planet, Wonder Woman, that were all strong women like that? So yeah, that were my... What did you enjoy? Are you a child of... When you were watching children's TV, what decade was it for you? For me, it was the 80s. Because I was born in 76. Ooh, which reminds me of something I wanted to ask you guys. I'm looking for a buddy. If anybody fancies buddying in November, or from the 21st of November onwards, if you're a Sagittarius, Sagittarian, I'm looking for a fellow Sagittarian. It's my birthday next month, and I would love to buddy up. I'll show you the book. If you're a Sagittarian and you have this book, would you like to buddy with me on a page if you're not already fully booked up? Oceans to Stars by Lydia Fenwick. So it's in 3 sections, this book. And I think... So let me just have a little look. I'm sorry I'm going off on a tangent. So Sagittarius period is 22nd of November to 21st of December, and I'd love to find a fellow Sagittarian that has this book that would like to maybe complete, because it's one of my untouched books that's on my list to complete before the end of the year, to complete a page in before the end of the year. So as choices would be, there's this page, which is in the first section of 3, you get like a full image of a lady, and you get your whatever your thingy-majig is. So this is a horse conch for Sagittarius. In the second, let me go to the second section. That's the one for Sagittarius. In the middle section, so the first section I think is ocean, then you get this like close-up. Or is this like an earthy section? I don't know, because it's called Ocean to Stars, isn't it? So maybe the last section is more stars, you know, space-based, galaxy, I don't know. Let's have a look. So this is the second section, and then the third option we would have in, yeah, this is definitely more galactical. You know what I mean. Yeah, you get the constellations that form, you know, Gemini or Cancer or whatever. So for Sagittarius, it's this one. And that's the constellation there, look. Constellation. And you got the Archer. And our planet is Jupiter, apparently. But I think this is a beautiful book, and I've not touched it yet. And let me just stress, I want to colour other pages in it. So in the future, I'd be looking for buddies that are, you know, it doesn't matter to me if you're a Sagittarian or not. But I thought, as it's my birthday month, I'd love somebody else who's celebrating the birthday, and we're both Sagittarians in that period, to maybe do a buddy with. So think on, if you've got Ocean to Stars by Lydia Fenwick, get in touch. That's on my untouched books list, which, by the way, is going pretty well. If you are interested, I'll pop a little update on screen. The books in bold, the books that you can see in bold, are the ones that I still have no plans yet for touching. So I want to get plans for touching. All the rest I've either planned a buddy with somebody in October, November. I think I've even got one buddy booked in for December. I'm pretty full for October and November, with the exception of that request I've just made. So I'd be looking, if anybody wants to buddy in December in any of them books. The problem is they're not very December-y. The mermaid books might just have to wait till next year, because even I don't fancy doing anything too aquatic at Christmas time. So I guess I'm looking for buddies who don't want to just do Christmas stuff through December, which will be hard to find. But yeah, if anybody fancies buddying up on any of those books with me, just those in bold I'm interested in before end of year. And then if I achieve my goal of having all my books with at least a page completed in, so I have no untouched books, then I'll just be open to buddying in anything for the, you know, rest of the winter into spring. Been a bit absent-minded in my colouring of this. I'm going to leave some of it blue. How are you tackling your black things? Of which there's always a lot of black things, isn't there, this time of year? How are you tackling them then? I mentioned Autumn's tutorial. I definitely think my page is in its ugly stage at the moment. It's interesting, isn't it, when you see pages in progress, especially from somebody a bit more amateur like me. I'm not talking about your Karen from My Colourful Country Life type thing. I don't think her pages go through an ugly stage, but mine definitely do, because I'm a relative beginner, so I'm still figuring stuff out. Every page is I don't go into any page super confident at all. Every page has a worryingly ugly stage. So it's nice not to rush when you coloured pencil colouring. What's up, Rocket? I like to just... I don't think I've ever rushed colouring, because that's not why I colour. I colour to relax, so... It must be hard if you've got, for example, if you're a creator, content creator, as well as a colourist, and you've got deadlines for when you have to have things done for brands that you're working with. So, you know, like when you're going to do a picture to advertise a brand that you're in collaboration with, and they want your picture to be done by a certain date and on social media by a certain date. That is a massive turn off for me. Deadlines turn me off big time. This has been quite interesting. It's been nice for me to do this 6-part thing, because it's made me... I made a promise to myself that I would have them up Wednesdays and Fridays. So it's given me a little bit of routine and structure, which I don't mind. And it's given me kind of... Although I've broken this down massively in, you know, in terms of... This could have been 2 videos. Rocket! Oi! Come on, lad. Good boy. Thank you for letting me know that they're there, but it's getting late now, so don't be barking. Yeah, this could have been 2 parts, couldn't it, really? A lot of, you know, a lot of colour alongs will be 1 or 2 parts. But that's exactly how I'll do them in future if I do colour alongs. But doing it this way has given me like a little bit of structure for a few weeks. It's shown me that I will stick to it, and I'm happy to. And it's not imposed on my life. It's only so far enhanced it, you know, giving me something positive. And if I get to, I don't know how many subscribers you need before you can do lives. But that's something I would consider in future, doing live streams. Although I don't know if I'd be any good at looking at the chat as well as colouring. I'm not sure. I think I'd be alright, actually. I think I'd be okay. So it's something that I'd like to give a go. But I don't ever want to, because I know myself so well now, and you do get to know yourself when you get into your 40s, 30s, and then 40s even more so. You really understand yourself, I think. A lot more than you did in your 20s. And I think I'm not somebody, if it's something that I started as a hobby, which I did, I've learnt now not to try and make too much out of it. I'm not interested in earning money from it. The minute I'm not speaking for everybody, it works for some people, and I did make I had a small business a few years ago, and it was based on what my hobby was back then, and it was a huge commitment. And in the end, I fell out of love with the hobby because it became my work. So I don't ever want to do that again. I don't even want to get close to it. So if ever I'm in debt to somebody for my hobby, it's going to kill it for me. This is why I've no intentions on doing Patreon or even, I mean, I'm a small channel now anyway. So those thoughts, you know, are not even in my head. But as we're on the topic, it's not something I'll probably ever want to do, because I don't want to, if I feel like I don't want to come up, if I had Patreons, I'd feel like I had to, or even members, I think they call them members, don't they, on YouTube. I would feel like I had to show up for them, and you do, really, you do. They're paying for content from you, aren't they? So you've got to show up. And I think, whereas I do see this as a long-term thing that I've started, I don't want it to become a burden. I want it to stay that I make content when I feel like I've got something to show. I don't want to have to think of ideas. But as ideas pop in my head and I want to share them with you, I will, but I don't want to have to do that, you know. So that's why I don't have a strict schedule. You might think, God, she uploads a lot. In fact, that might be turning some people off. I might be losing subscribers. That's all right. I'm just going to upload when I feel like it. Sometimes I might not upload for a while. And I just hope that, you know, you'll stick around, because everything I'm doing, you know, there's no cost to you guys. It's just my time. And at the moment, it's not really impacting negatively at all on my life. So it's all good. It's all good. It's turned into a bit of an handsome chap, this one. This little putty cat. So tell me, this is another thing I wanted to mention to you as well. I keep thinking now, because I'm relaxed, I'm thinking of things that that I've been meaning to say. I want to make sure that I'm showing as much support to you guys if you have channels or Instagram accounts as you are to me. So if you subscribe to me and you have a channel that I don't, or you suspect that I might not subscribe to you, I do try and go straight and look for the name that's messaged me, that's commented and sort of said, oh, I've just subscribed, Joe. And I try and look for the channel, and then I'll subscribe if you've got a channel, just to show you some support like you're showing me. And then I'll see your content, as I have my TV on all day with YouTube on. But if you think I don't subscribe, let me know, because I'd like to. It's hard to tell, isn't it? When somebody messages you on YouTube or the comments under a video, it doesn't mean that they've got a channel. So, and in the moment I'm replying to people, sometimes I forget to go look. So yeah, do tell me if you've got a channel. I'd love to support you back. Are you guys thinking of getting any more colouring books before the end of the year? I saw the first flip through of that new Rita Berman book on Instagram. Somebody they must have purchased it. I don't think they said thanks to the publisher or anything like that. So I think they purchased it. When I looked, it's now available to buy on Amazon, isn't it? I think it's got a delivery date at for here, like the 21st of October maybe. I've got two Rita books. I've got the Europa one and the Mine's Spazia Gang de Harriet Seaton, is it? So I've got those two, and they're gorgeous. I love them. I think she gives the best value for money of any, in terms of like the number of pages in a book, the number of illustrations, the variety of different kinds of illustrations. So if you like a lot of patterns, you get a bit of that. I just think the best all-round value for money in Rita Berman books in terms of the illustrations. But I don't think I want any more just yet. I love the look of Africa and Asia, the Asian ones. And this new one looks good. But I don't think I want to expand my collection until, and this goes for most of the illustrators that I love and everybody else. I don't want to expand my collection until I've coloured more pages in the books that I do have by them. So I would say I'm a huge fan of R.J. Hampson, Hanna Karlzon, and I'm still resisting the urge to buy more of their books, because I just need to colour more in what I've got. I just need to feel like I feel like I owe it to the books. I don't want to see books on my shelf uncoloured. That's just me. I want to state now that I love when people have huge collections of books, because if they didn't have those books, we wouldn't get to see all the lovely books. So I am a fan of book collectors. Yes, I am. I'm just not a collector of books. You can see how in that last video I'm more than happy just to go to a front page and scribble something. I appreciate the art, but the book itself is just a book. I can always buy it again. So as long as I wouldn't ever ruin a colouring page in these books, but I will just test on pages in front, and nameplate pages I don't think I'll ever get coloured. Maybe in Soulmates, Spirit Animals, that's a book I would like to complete. I think I'd like to complete Fairy Tales and Folklore, you know. I think that book is definitely it's definitely, I can see why. Was it Colour with Claire that helped push to get it republished? I haven't read too much about that, to be honest, so I might be wrong there. But I think it's a cracking book, that, you know, and I think her illustration style, Emily's illustration style, can appeal to a wide variety of people, and I think I'd be surprised, I'd be hard pushed to find a colourist who doesn't have it in the collection. So tell me if you don't have that book, if you're aware of it and you have chosen not to get it, and why. I'd be dead interested. And it could be just that her illustration style's not for you, which is fair enough. Absolutely. I don't think I'll be buying any more Joanna Basford. Don't think her illustration style's for me. Magical Worlds I like. And I were hoping this new book could be something different, but her flowers and stuff like that are not my cup of tea, flower-wise, and that's okay. That's why we have so many illustrators. It'd be boring if we only had, you know, Joanna Basford, wouldn't it? I'm sure we can all agree on that, even if we don't say it out loud. But yeah, I were really interested in that video that Sarah Renee Clark did, who, by the way, as a YouTuber, I think is fantastic, Sarah Renee Clark. You find out lots of good stuff. And she did a thing where she ordered the top 100 colouring books that were on Amazon. 1 minute. What's this? What are you doing? What are you doing? You buried him. Why have you done that? Why have you done that? Top 100 books on Amazon. She ordered them, and she were disappointed to find you've probably seen this video, but if you've not, you might want to take a look. It's quite good. Excuse me. She was disappointed to find that they were full of a lot of AI books, a lot of poor quality books, the likes of, you know, Maria Troller, Hanna Karlzon, your mythographics even, certainly Kanoko Agusa, Kirby, weren't really represented. The one author that was represented on that top 100 was Joanna Basford. So I don't want anybody to think I'm slating her, because I think she's cracking. And who don't love? I'm a big fan of Scotland, so anybody Scottish I'm a fan of. So I do like Joanna Basford, and I love Magical Worlds, and I've also recently bought Worlds of Wonder because I thought that might be along the same lines. And I've had World of Flowers. Somebody gifted me that years ago and I never coloured in it. So it's not that I dislike Joanna. I think she's cracking and I love what she's done for colouring. And I'm proud that she's, you know, UK. But her normal illustration, her standard illustration style isn't, you know, it doesn't light my fire. But she was the one artist, the one illustrator that had a number of books in the top 100. So she has done something right. And I think what it is I don't know what it is what it's like in other countries. Please do tell me. But when you get into adult colouring, you're already in the UK. You're already familiar with Joanna Basford's books because they can be found in as supermarkets sometimes, as high street shops. So we see her books, and the same's happened with Millie Marotta, which it definitely isn't my thing either. Anything Zendoodly is a bit of a turn off for me. And I think it is such a shame that we don't see other stuff. And the other stuff that we are offered is, some of it's tat. I don't know quite how I feel about... I appreciate somebody who necessarily might not be able to draw, not being able to find a colouring book that's up their alley, so then they go and want to make one that is their alley, if you know what I mean. So they will use digital ways to bring together a colouring book. It might be Shutterstock images, it might be AI, whatever it is. I understand why they do it, because they've started off as a colourist, I think. There are some people who are just jumping on bandwagon. They're looking at what's hot now. What was hot a couple of years ago, adult colouring. Massive on TikTok for a bit, wasn't it, last year? And I think some people have just jumped on bandwagon and they're just bringing together Shutterstock images and producing books. And that's a lot of what's in the top 100. Sadly, I'd love to see artists and illustrators, you know, hand illustrating, more represented more in the top 100 on Amazon. So yeah, the point I was making is Sarah Renee Clark is doing God's work basically, and she's going to create a library of illustrators that produce colouring books. That's what she's producing, and there's links to how you can participate in putting forward your favourite artists on her website. So just check out Sarah Renee Clark's website if you want more information. But when that is finally produced and it's available, that'll be a good place, a good resource for us as colourists, I think. It is a shame that the top 100 is full of lower quality books, shall we say. And you know I'm a fan of cute and cosy, so I'm not dissing that, but yes. It astounds me that people like Rayhan Udachi or Udisi hasn't got with a publisher that's producing her art in, you know, in hardback. Or I think R.J. Hampson's got a nice little sweet spot going, because his illustration style, I really still like using alcohol markers on his books. So I get the best of both worlds. I can use alcohol markers and pencil. But that, I think it just suits his illustration style. I'd like to see it on some good paper as well. I bet there's some RJ fans who would love to be using watercolour and things like that. But I think he offers them downloadable, don't he? So you can get it on your own paper if you've got a printer and whatnot. I'm waffling a bit now, aren't I? So that's my pussy. I think I might leave him like that for now and come back to see what I want to do with him. Looking a bit mucky, isn't it? It's a bit like an accident rather than intentional. So I might go in with a bit more, deepen the colour a bit. I might think about it and come back to it. Forever experimenting. Let's have some, I think we'll go for some broomstick action now. And what would I normally colour a broomstick in? Well, I'd colour it brown. And I haven't pulled any brown pencils because they weren't part of my palette, but I do want a brown broomstick. Let's have a look. What's this colour like? Burnt ochre. No. Do you know what? I'm going to leave my broomstick. Radical. I'm going to leave my broomstick and I'm going to do some work on my pumpkins. Because I think if I get everything coloured, I'm still here. If I get everything coloured, I just paused the video for a little bit then because I was giving some thought to the colour palette and this page, because it is a bit of a toughie actually, because this page has single elements. Now you might be aware of this thought process where and it doesn't matter to me whether you believe it to be a true thing that you should do, or you take it a bit more easier like me. But there is a thought process that when you're using colour on a page, you shouldn't just have one thing red. So if you've got a red tomato or a bucket of tomatoes, people will say you need to have that red elsewhere in the page, and I don't necessarily think that's true. But I get what you achieve. You achieve more of a look of cohesion, I think, when you do that. And it is something I'm conscious of, and if I can, I will use colours in more than one place. So, for example, if I just have orange, I was just giving thought then to, I want to do these pumpkins fairly traditional, so I'm going to use my the colours that have grown, if you like, in my tray from those peachy tones. So maybe these two that were in sort of the upper part of the inspiration image behind the squares on the palette picture. So I think I'm going to use them on my pumpkin. But then I'm thinking, well, these leaves that are growing from this broomstick, I want to incorporate some orange in them, so that's good, isn't it? In which case I will go for an orangey toned or a reddy toned, a warm brown colour, if you know what I mean, for this broomstick. So actually where I've started here with this burnt ochre isn't a bad start really, because I'm going to get some oranginess and I'll add some brown obviously. Then I've got my orangey pumpkins and I'll have some green on my leaves because I think I'll have them on the turn. But then you might be thinking, where else am I going to have green? Well, there's some green leaves there and there's some green leaves there. So that'll do for me. So yeah, I just pause the video to just stop and think a little bit without being conscious that we're leaving a big long pregnant pause on the audio for this video. I'm going to try these. So these are 183 light yellow ochre and 187 burnt ochre, which of these two, and that's definitely more yellowy and that's more orangey, but let's see. These are very bright. got them as options as well, but they're quite bright. I'm feeling these two more, so let's see how we go. I'll start with light yellow ochre 183. If ever you're wondering, I like to bulldog clip my books flat. I always have a page behind, no matter what I'm doing, even if it's pencil work, I still put a page, piece of paper behind. Don't know why, just always have, and I'm a creature of habit. And same with this, I like to, and then if I want to go sit on the sofa for a bit, I can just grab it, but I never do. I always sit at my desk and colour. So how do you do, what do you do? Do you sit on your sofa and colour? Do you have a little sofa caddy? Do you have a little caddy on wheels with all your colouring bits in? I like the idea of them. That's how I started. I started with a small, you know, like a temporary foldable table. So welcome now to Friday morning. So my camera stopped recording last night because I didn't have enough storage. And all you missed was I coloured 2 of these pumpkins and a little bit of hair. I've got rid of some stuff so I can carry on recording this morning. Me and Rocket again. Hub's at work. And yeah, we're going to carry on as we were. I'm going to do these pumpkins. I was deciding what colour I liked on her hair, so I think I'm going to go for pink, which is also kind of a colour in our palette. Believe it or not, I carried on recording for, well, I thought I was recording for quite a bit last night, but it turns out I wasn't. But let me just tell you, we had some fantastic conversations. You were great company. I think it stopped recording just as I was telling you. You know, I was asking you if you sit and colour on the sofa or at a desk. But then we got on to all sorts. I was asking you about your Holy Grail books. Like, what book can you just not get hold of that you'd really love to have in your collection? I was explaining about a book by Stephanie Holm, Holm, called Wildscapes, and it's an Antipodean wildlife. Antipodean, I think that's the right word. Wildlife of Australia and New Zealand and stuff like that. But I love the way she illustrates wildlife. But you can't get that book for love nor money, so just have to suck it up. But yeah, what's your Holy Grail book? There's a few others I keep my eye out for on Vinted and stuff like that, but I wouldn't pay, you know, I wouldn't pay overpriced too much over the normal price for them. So I feel a bit better this morning. Do you know what? I've never intended to kind of go into detail about stuff like personal stuff, you know, like health and that. So when I were having a look at the footage I got last night, having a little bit of an edit in bed this morning, and I was a bit like, shall I keep that in or just take it out, you know, about not feeling well? I do not. A lot of you said that you've subscribed to me because I'm, you know, it's because I'm me, but everybody now and again feels a bit crook, don't they? So I didn't know whether to leave. I've left it in anyway, but just know it's a small thing, a small part of my life. You won't hear me talk about it much. But yeah, so colouring, I'm enjoying this page. It's a bit different for me. I've not really done many pages where it's some images within, you know, this is quite style, like, what's the word for it? Is it stylized or graphic or, but I'm enjoying it. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm enjoying it. Normally I'll do a normal scene. It'll be a normal scene. Or it'll be the opposite of a scene. It'll just be a person's face or a horse's face or some flowers or, you know, a compilation of items like you get in fairy tales and folklore sometimes. So yeah, I'm enjoying this though. So what I did do last night when I weren't being recorded was I brought in a brown that I liked to go with these. So I've got 3 colours in these pumpkins. I've got the light yellow ochre, the burnt ochre, which I mentioned yesterday, and now I have a burnt sienna. So I think it's primarily the burnt sienna that I'll use on my broomstick. So 2 birds, 1 stone. I always think that's a good idea when you're picking colours, if you can use as least pencils as possible. That's just in general less hassle, I would say, but it also means if you're using a smaller number of pencils over across your page, there's going to be some cohesion, isn't there? So as with our Polychromos, just going to build some layers. Near Rocket playing with his monkey toy again. He's had his walk this morning and his breakfast. He's a bit livelier than usual. I'm expecting him to kind of flake out shortly. Now he's got a full belly and he's had his walk. Hello, mister. Hello, mister. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to export this size video. I might have to do it in 2 chunks, or 1 chunk, you know, the latter half might form part of next Wednesday's upload, if that makes sense. Because now I'm colouring this page, I think it will be a case that I'll get quite a bit of colouring done. By the time I knock off today, it'll be quite... I think I'll have pumpkins and hair done, or most at hair. And then, you know, next Wednesday's video will be finishing off as colouring, I reckon. Or maybe we'll finish it over at next 2 parts and just include the finishing touches in that final part 6. So we'll see. Things always change, don't they? You can make plans, but you have to be adaptable in this world we live in. That's one thing for sure. Crikey, you don't have to adapt. Setbacks I've encountered in life in the last few years have been incredible. we all have it, don't we? I know I'm not alone. But yeah, it's been a testing couple of years, but we are in a really good place now. Happy days. But yeah, life is sent to test us. Do you think most of us come to colouring because it's an escapism from something? Do you think those of us... so I would say I've always enjoyed art. And I did graphic design at college. So I do have a little tiny bit of a background, so I'm also coming to it from a place of creativity. It's a creative outlet for me as well, but I wonder if a lot of people who've not previously been into anything artistic come to find the way into adult colouring because it's a escapism from something. It's just, you know, you're escaping from stress, or it's a way to relax. Bit of mindfulness or mindlessness, if you prefer. You're making a right racket this morning, Rocket. Rocket's making a racket. I think while he's having a little play, I might just colour and let you guys listen to some chilled out music while you're doing the same. I will be back though. Rocket appears to have calmed down a little bit now. I think it might be time for our lad to find a girlfriend, if that's something we're going to do. Or it might be time to take him to the vets, because he's not... we had one dog. I had a dog years ago that became quite aggressive when he got to that age where, you know, he was starting to have grown-up doggy feelings. So we had him... Oh, I forgot what it's called now. We had him done. And that helped. But I think my husband would like to find Rocket a mate to maybe have some pups. But he's just spent the last 10 minutes doing unspeakable things to his own bed. Hence why you've been listening to a bit of music. What do you guys feel about burnishing and really shading, I guess I'm asking about, because you might notice I don't stress too much about burnishing. Like, I think you can look at my pages and this one, and you can tell it's a pencil colouring. I'm not too bothered about getting that super smooth airbrushed look. I kind of like to see that it's pencil, so I don't mind too much if I don't have that smooth. He's not finished. I need to do something with him. There's too much grain of paper showing through there. I can see it. Can you? I don't know whether it's showing up on camera, but I'm loving him. I kind of like it in a way, but also not. A lot of the white of the paper still showing through, so I'm going to work on him. But I love the way these pumpkins are done, and I think you can tell that it's a pencil drawing, and I don't mind that at all. Pencil colouring, sorry. But yeah, that's just a combination of these 3 pencils, making sure I'm getting some depth in these creases in the pumpkin. I like, I do like contrast. I like to have darker bits. I will look at my work and I'll think, yeah, something just not quite right, and then I'll deepen an area and I think, yeah, that's much better. And you know, I'll probably do that with this. I'll come back and I might use a black or even some other darker colours. Oops, a daisy. Could even use a purple. Save me getting me other. Yeah, I like that purple as me. Yeah, I'll sharpen that and use that, I think, on one. So this is the mauve, which is what the main colour of her outfit is made up of. Oops, hit my head on my lamp then. Yeah, so purples will make good shading colours sometimes on orangey yellow things. Or colour wheel stuff again. Complementary colours, purple and yellow, aren't they, I think. First thing I did with my watercolours, the first thing I did was paint myself a colour wheel, and it's just above me on my desk, so I can always refer to it. Funnily enough, it's the first thing they asked us to do at college as well, and I can remember I painted my colour wheel in gouache 30 years ago. Do you know what? I was talking to my husband last night about my age and health and stuff. And I thought most of this year I've been thinking I'm 49. I keep saying I'm heading to 50, but I'm not. We worked it out. I'm actually 48. So overnight I got a year younger, which is fantastic. I think I tend to round up, you know, quite quickly. As soon as I turned 48, I was sort of saying in my head, well, you're pretty much 49, which is pretty much 50. Yeah, I love that purple shading. I think that's lovely there. I might even take it down here a little bit, just a tiny bit. I have to restrain myself sometimes. These darker colours that I take into creases, I have a tendency to want to carry on with them. And I think your darkest colour, you sometimes do need to keep it just right in the crease. Just a little down there, not too much. There we go, happy with that. It's a lovely thing, isn't it, colouring, coloured pencil colouring in particular. I love my alcohol markers, but I think you have to work a little bit. You know, with a pencil you can just pause, chill out, make a brew, chat. With alcohol marker, it's a little bit more, you know, once that marker hits the paper, you've got to move with it, move quickly. So everybody thinks cute and cozy colouring is easy. I actually think there's a lot to it. Both creative, you know, these people who are taking it beyond what it was intended to be, I think are just absolutely fantastic. I wish I could remember all the names. I was looking at one this morning in bed, one picture, Colour at Home Mum. Colour at Home Mum it might be, I'll check. She's fantastic, and my favourite, I've mentioned her before in my videos, I think it's Melissa Colours. Absolutely brilliant. They're just, it's beyond cute and cosy colouring, do you know what I mean? It's taking it, and in a way they're making more art, if you like, out of those pages, cute and cosy pages in alcohol marker and acrylic markers, than I'm doing in my Hanna Karlzon with coloured pencils. So I never turn my nose up at cute and cosy colourists. I think they are artists, a lot of them, and that's it. Same in pencil colouring, isn't it? But yeah, there's some seriously talented people out there on Instagram in the cute and cosy books, and I totally get the appeal. I loved my first 2 months certainly were all cute and cosy, and I only had Girl Moments and Girl Moments 2, and I think I had Cozy Life. There are my 3 books. Yeah, this purple's lovely, isn't it? I don't know whether you're getting the same effect on camera as I am here, but you'll just have to take my word for it. I'm right glad I picked this purple pencil up, because it is just giving it some more contrast, which I think it needed. And I'm just the person who likes a lot of contrast. I like to see a clear difference in my pages between dark and light. And that's all contrast is, really, isn't it? How much difference you've got between your darkest bits and your lightest bits. I actually don't know what it means. I think that's what I've always taken it to mean. I should check things before I speak, shouldn't I? But yeah, that's always what I've understood contrast to mean. Suddenly when you put yourself on the internet, you have to kind of stop and think, is that right? But yeah. And you sometimes see where it's too obvious, or you've not blended it enough, like there, down this section. So now I'm forced to do a little bit more in this shade, to make sure it doesn't look just like a line. So yeah, you've got to be a bit gentle, a bit light-handed. I also like it when I see some colourists who prefer a style with less contrast, and I think they can look really pretty and ethereal, you know, kind of dreamy. So why I always say there's no good or bad colouring, it's just a matter of perspective and what the viewer's taste is. That will dictate their opinion. I like a bit of everything, but on my pages I do like contrast. So if you remember, I said my light source I'm imagining it's coming in like this. So for that reason, I'm just going to make sure I'm happy that I've darkened some of the underside enough to reflect that. The backside and the underside. And of course you have the shadows on the item or the darker area furthest from the light or hidden from the light. You have to think about shading, don't you? So like this bottom edge, if my light source is coming in. Bottom edge. But then you also have the shadow that the item might be casting. So this might be casting some shadow here, if you know what I mean. Yeah, this pumpkin might be casting a little bit of shadow on this one. So two types of shadows you've got to think about with objects. And there'd also be shadow on this broomstick in this area for lights. So that's something I'll remember when I get round to that. When I see some people asking on Facebook, you know, mainly, you know, those new to it who've got into it through TikTok or whatever, they've come straight in like I did from into Cute and Cozy, and saying, what's first, any tips for that when you're starting? I think if you can colour flat neatly, I would work on colouring flat neatly first. Flat colour, plain old colouring in, like when we're kids. If you feel like you're doing that neatly and you've got that down, then look. So the first thing I think anybody should be, rather than trying these TikTok trends of like how to draw a bubble for how to make everything look like a balloon, which are fun trends, but I think the first thing that's useful to learn is light and shade, highlights and shadows, because that's what makes things look real, or a scene look more realistic. I think it's just my opinion. But yeah, I think that should be one of the first things. And that's just understanding light source, which we can all do just by looking around us every day. Where you know, if you turn a lamp on, where does the light hit things? Most of you guys who are watching will be like, oh, teaching us to suck eggs. She's only been doing it 3 months herself. I know. Obviously this conversation is aimed more at people who've stumbled across this video and have just got into colouring. Right, but I don't want to make it all too dark, do I? So I better stop there, because, you know, I've got a tendency to overwork things. Yeah, I like them as they are for now, so I'm going to move on to the hair. I'll put them aside, and I want to make sure they're not bad for now. They won't be too long before I'm sharpening them. So that's the pumpkins. it's getting a bit chilly, so I'm wearing a shawl. Shawl of all things. Right, let's do some hair. So I decided on pink, and I'm going to use 134 crimson and 160 manganese violet, which are these two colours. So yeah, start with my lighter shade, and I try, and I don't always get it right, but I try and think again where my light's hitting, and I'll try and leave a lighter area, usually on a curve, and then I'll go darker into the opposing curve, if you know what I mean. So I'll try and do like feathery strokes, and I'll just map out where I'm going to have my lighter bits to start with, using my lightest pencil. So just mapping out where I'm going to have my lighter bits. You're not going to have light reflected on the hair behind the ear, so this will always be dark in this page, this area. I won't stress out too much about light sources and where to have your, lighter bits and darker bits too much. Certainly not with hair anyway. I don't think it matters too much. So yes, this is how I start. With hair, I just map out using the lighter pencil where I might have my lighter bits. Nothing too complicated. When you are doing it, I don't know whether you can see this, but what you want to try and avoid when you're doing strokes, hair strokes, is that, see how I've got a curve happening there because I've flicked it round, I haven't been very accurate, the pencil's pulled back. You kind of want it to, you want to keep that line straight, more like I've done there, because that doesn't look realistic. That's showing me that the hair's coming off around here when it's not. It's supposed to be going down there. So that's what to avoid, and that's more how to do it correctly, I would say. But there'll be more layers going on this. My latter layers will be more accurate, I hope. My pencil will be sharper. You can see that some of the distressing from this purple area is on here as well, and I've got some of the tea stain colour under the hair there. I'm not fussed. That doesn't bother me at all. Not bothered. I think when you have finished it, I think we can fixate too much on little points like that, and you don't realise that when your page is finished and you look at it as a whole, and you've really got something to be proud of, you don't notice all little bits that are just not quite there. Well, I don't anyway. So are any of you drawers? Are any of you illustrators? Do you enjoy, I don't mean as a career, I mean, do you like drawing or doodling or illustrating? Did you see my other video where I became a colouring book illustrator in my own head for an hour, and I had to go at illustrating a colouring book page, just like in the moment, over about 45 minutes I think it was. Is that something you like to do? Do you like to draw? And if you do like to draw, are you drawing something that could be colouring in pages, colouring book pages? I would encourage you to have a go. I had a lot of fun that hour, and I love doing things like that as a break between pages, because I love I love having a page on the go. There's never a time where I go a day without having a page that I'm currently thinking about. But I do like to have a little breather before I start the next one. So I'll often pick the next page straight away. Get my colour palette chosen and my pens pulled, my pencils pulled. And I'll have it all ready to go, but as a little bit of a little shake down, a little shake off between pages, I'll do something like that. And like that chaos colouring I did, they've made for good videos as well to share with you guys. So yeah, I do like that in-betweeny process as well. What I want to start doing as well is like get my watercolours out and do more original artwork, you know, not necessarily on colouring pages. I grew some lovely pumpkins. They're all weird and wonderful shapes, very odd looking pumpkins this year, and I'd love to sit and maybe I've got some pastels and some proper pastel board and an easel. So I think between some colouring pages this month, I'd like to either watercolour or pastel my pumpkins that I've grown, just like I drew those tomatoes that I grew, and have those pictures to look back on. So I'm just getting my first layer down here. It's Editing Joe here. Shortly after I finished the first layer of the hair, my camera gave up again. I need more storage. So I think what I'll do is I'll leave this episode where it is. We'll finish it with a little bit of fast forward and a bit of music until this first layer is complete. And then I'll complete the main illustration over the next 2 episodes, next Wednesday and Friday. The Friday one will definitely include all the finishing touches as well, so any white gel pen work and sparkly stuff and things like that. So I hope you'll come back for it. And I'm sorry I'm cutting this a little short. It's a long video. This one's geared towards putting on and just having on in the background while you're doing your colouring, whether it's this page or another page. So I hope you've enjoyed a little bit of company today, and I certainly thank you for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing, and I'll say ta-ra for now.